Even locally, we have a bit of derivatives, and obviously, one might expect to see a bit of regulations with respect to that because of certain key losses that were observed on account of cross-currency swaps, especially positions in on the short leg of US dollars in cross-currency swaps that we had recently observed in the banking industry as well in certain manufacturing organizations which were on the short side of US dollars in the cross-currency swap legs. So the overall increase in capital requirement for trading book will make these activities much less profitable. And obviously there is another fear of greater disintermediation, like I said, that if there are alternate schemes that offer this better returns, right, while the banking industry may be looking to cut interest costs, then there is an increasing likelihood that people might opt to go for the alternate schemes, especially under the circumstances that bank may be pushing borrowers to opt for stable funding products like fixed term deposits, right, etc., which then may provide the incentive to the depositor to basically opt for alternate schemes. So there needs to be a great deal of work done on developing perhaps liability product as well. So there is perhaps an element for getting into putting down some emphasis on basically developing liability products. Okay. So the proposed Basel III framework will have an impact, as I had stated earlier, and constrain business models across all aspects of balance sheet and of balance sheet use, especially that pertain to basically exposure-based businesses. And then we need to have obviously strategic planning and review across products, as I had stated earlier, liability products, asset size on the asset side, and business platform, including some entity structures, may need to be revisited. Obviously, if one is looking forward to acquiring a loss-making organization with a lot of deferred tax losses which one is carrying forward, right, then that element may not be available in the long term. The total benefit will not be available in the long term, in the sense that deferred tax losses are not going to be eligible, right? Obviously, what the BIS committee has suggested is that they are going to be deducting it on a 20% straight line basis over a period of 5 years, yeah? But nonetheless, transactions like mergers, acquisitions need to be considered in the light of the new requirements. And even now, because obviously one has their own timelines as to when one will be able to fully realize a particular benefit of an asset. So a number of fundamental factors will change, and the rationale for current practices may no longer be relevant. Okay. Current focus is on areas of substantial capital increase, but the impact of new liquidity and leverage constraints are often interrelated and conflicting in nature. For instance, the current funding model is likely to attract additional liquidity requirements, so that would create a pressure, right? More assets being placed in shorter term assets, and which obviously may drive the yield curve down a bit, especially in the shorter profile. And at the same time, capital would be placed under pressure due to negative additional carry, right? Lower return on equity. Then there is an increased need to educate our investors, as well as the fact that leverage ratio may be placed under assets by increasing assets for that matter. So something we have something like post 9/11, when there was a lot of basically inflow into the banking sector. Something like that, I suppose, may be placed under pressure if there is a requirement of keeping the balance sheet restricted to 3% of tier 1 assets. So that is obviously going to create a downward pressure. So one needs to consider the impact of the new regulatory requirements on aspects of business activity, specific product features, as well as entity structures, especially if one is operating within a large group. I think what I've realized is I may have gone a bit faster. Okay. So, certain market-related businesses will be less profitable because of capital, leverage, and liquidity requirements. And business areas are affected by three requirements. Obviously, I have identified over-the-counter derivative trading, prime brokerage trading, short selling, and treasury portfolio management as being impacted by the additional requirements of capital. As I had stated earlier, that capital requirements within the held for trading portfolio are expected to rise by at least 3 times, especially for banks which are looking forward to migrate to advanced approaches, right? Because one is mandatorily required to take into consideration data pertaining to stress periods, right? So as and when banks are going to do that, then there is an increased likelihood that there is going to be a big jump in the capital requirements. Then obviously there is a liquidity requirement, right? So there is an additional premium on that, and combined with the leverage ratio, right? All of that is going to reduce the return on capital employed, especially with respect to the held for trading aspects. Somehow it tends to make sense because obviously, say if we take into account the current standardized approach that is applicable, say our equity portfolio, we have 8% specific charge and 8% general charge on our equity portfolio. So we have say say 16 rupees of capital against every 100 rupees of exposure. Now, as we have seen in virtually a lot of market crashes, the amount of losses that are incurred by the overall index are at times much greater than 16%. So I would tend to concur with perhaps the current regulatory requirement that only an X percentage of capital needs to be put into, say, perhaps equity business or held for trading business, right? As well as the fact that perhaps, if a head organization placed a lot of material part of their portfolio into the held for trading portfolio, right? And had the current existing regulatory requirement had not been in place, I'm sure there would have been very material implications on the balance sheet of a lot of financial institutions. So currently, yes, the regulator does lean on the conservative side, and I would tend to see logic in that as well. Okay, entity impacts. So the cost and rationale of diverse legal entities will come under pressure in the sense that, minority interests, if you have a subsidiary, right, and and minority interest is not essentially available anymore to be used against the exposure of the consolidated group, that will be an element. Another aspect is obviously that, the element of deferred tax assets themselves. Ring fence, as I've said, ring fence capital in subsidiaries may increase the pressure. And then there is an effect of deductions. There are quite a lot of deductions being outlined. Some of the primary ones are obviously that minority interest is not available. Apart from that, deferred tax assets as well as pension assets are not going to be available anymore. Intangibles were obviously are not currently available either. So that brings in nothing new. But however, that has also been outlined in the Basel III requirements. One needs to carefully, as I stated earlier, consider interaction with the Pillar 2 requirements, right? A lot in Pillar 2 needs to be revised, right? I understand banks must be in the process of developing their ICAAP submissions right now as we speak. So one should basically take into account the fact that there is going to be probably material implications on your capital plan that you need to get approved. For instance, injection of further capital, right? One needs to plan for that. And basically another element may be that how much capital will you be able to arrange from the overall stock market, right? Will you be able to arrange